I kindly asked Helen to step in. Helen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Helen, and I was here last week, and they've dragged me back in, alhamdulillah, to join the party.
Yeah, hopefully next year or the year after, you'll be doing your own shows as well, I think. So watch this space.
I don't think you guys want that.
And today we've got a special guest as well. We've got Mahmouda Duke. I'll ask her to introduce herself, even though I've just told you who we've got on here. And she's our new High Sheriff for Leicestershire and Rutland. Mahmouda?
Not quite Rutland, Kirk.
Oh, no, of course, yeah. No, just Leicester and Leicestershire.
Yes.
Of course. How dare I as well?
Well, I don't want to upset my Rutland
No, I was going to say.
So yes, absolutely. No, I'm Mahmouda Duke, and thank you for having me on the show.
So today we're going to be talking about, or to Mahmouda, about her role and what the High Sheriff is. I guess a lot of people don't know what the High Sheriff is, but it's a quite important role in a particular part of the field of criminal justice, isn't it?
Well, it's the civic world, really.
Civic world,
yeah,
okay. Go on, you explain what it is to us, because I'll do it very badly and you'll have to correct me anyway.
Okay, so I will do my best to explain what the role is. The High Sheriff, it goes back a very, very long time, over 1,000 years, Saxon times.
Wow.
And every county had a High Sheriff, and the High Sheriff, historically, had all the powers of the county. So you were judge and jury, you collected the taxes, you made the decisions, you had every bit of power.
Please tell me you still collect taxes.
I don't collect the
taxes. You don't collect the taxes.
HM Treasury collects the taxes now.
Okay, that's a shame.
So essentially, the High Sheriff was the person with, as I've said, the greatest power in the county. But that over time was divested in the Treasury, in the magistrates, in the judiciary, all those things, the law and order. And keeping everybody on the straight and narrow, really.
Okay.
That was then divested as it is now. So now the High Sheriff's role is a ceremonial role, and it comes about. It's a royal appointment. There are 2 royal appointments in every county, and the royal appointments are the Lord Lieutenant, and we all know Mike Kapoor is our Lord Lieutenant,
yeah.
and the High Sheriff. So that means is that the Queen appoints you, as opposed to, a group of people in your own county.
Could me or Helen be the High Sheriff?
If you were nominated, there's no reason why you wouldn't be or couldn't be, if you were nominated. So, I often get asked, Mahmouda, did you apply? How do you apply? That kind of thing. But the answer to that is no, there is no application process. You could, if I nominated you, or somebody who was a High Sheriff nominated you. So one of my functions this year is to nominate somebody to be High Sheriff.
One person, or do you get to put a list together?
Well, no, it would be a list. It would be a number. So I would probably put forward a few names.
Okay.
But it's
because things change, obviously.
Things change.
Circumstances change.
Yeah, and it's not me that makes that decision. I would recommend, or they would be my nomination, but it's a panel that has to come together and collectively decide on one name as my nominated person.
Yeah.
And then that name gets put to the Lord Lieutenant.
I do know the answer to this.
Go on.
The process from your nomination to now that you're acting as the High Sheriff was a long time.
It was.
Is it like that normally, or is it just because of things, or does it take that about a period of time?
Yes, it does.
Wow.
It does. So the panel takes a fair amount of time to make a decision, and once that when I say a fair amount of time, your name is probably. I didn't know this, and people don't know this, but your name is, and you as an individual and what you bring to the table is discussed over a period of time, and then there is a 5-year succession. So it's all planned, and there is a 5-year succession, or you are in nomination for a number of years.
5 years.
Well, it's the full in nomination period is 3, but as in there's a 5-year lead-in.
I'd be interested to know, what does it look like on a day-to-day basis for you, and what are the highs and lows that you engage with each day?
Okay, so I've only been in the role for, today it's 3 weeks since my declaration.
Oh, wow, mashallah.
So
that's more than long enough to get to grips with what's going on.
Well,
It's been coming for 5 years.
It has, but you don't put your mind to it until
You're thrown in the deep end.
Yeah. So, no, to be absolutely fair, there is a process. There is, there in the build-up, there were a lot of conferences, and they were all Zoom conferences. Mostly, there was, managed a few in person. But there's training, in the sense that you do get briefing in terms of what to expect, who to connect with, what your role is about, and how to get the best out of your year, because it's a year of essentially it's a year of service. It's a year of service to your community.
It's like a full-time job, but you don't get paid for it.
Correct.
A bit like mine.
Wow. But, it's really interesting, because I would say I'm one of the people that didn't realise that we had a High Sheriff. So I'm really intrigued in asking you questions, because I find it really interesting and you're a female, you're Asian, you're Muslim, like it's such an amazing representation of so many sort of smaller groups of people that you must feel really proud that you're representing.
So alhamdulillah, I am. It's a huge honour, and going on to the diversity point, in over 1,000 years, I'm only the 7th woman.
Wow.
Never mind.
That's incredible.
Woman. Never mind of colour.
In 1,000 years. Well, I can get
Over
most of
1,000
the
years.
920 previously. I get a lot of that. But
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
7.
7th woman.
I'd have never anticipated you saying that.
And many will remember the first woman of colour. That was Frida Hussein.
Yes, the late Frida Hussein.
Late Frida
She used to be the
Hussein.
principal at Moat
That's right.
Community College. A lot of people
Yeah.
probably listening will remember her
Yeah.
having gone to that particular school.
Absolutely. And there's this strange story here. I've been in Leicester, it's coming up to 20 years. Okay, I'm a Blackburn girl. I was born in Lancashire.
We don't talk about that on the Leicester radio station.
We'll forgive you.
You can't get away from that, okay? So I'm a Blackburn girl, having been here about 20 years, coming up to 20 years. But when I was at university, we did a field trip to Leicester. And I visited, would you believe, the person whose house I visited was Frida Hussein's.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
As
That's
part of the
brilliant.
trip?
As part of that trip. I didn't
Wow.
know Frida Hussein. I didn't know her. That's where I was allocated. So you visited, there were a number of families who people visited, and so students got allocated to a family. I bizarrely got allocated to Frida Hussein, and I had supper with Frida Hussein one evening.
Maybe it was all part of the plan.
Who knows?
Could have been a big conspiracy.
It could have been.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely. And you've been caught in the web.
Do you know,
I like a good conspiracy.
they say Allah has a plan, and
Of course.
how bizarre is that? It's
That's
quite
alhamdulillah,
it's quite
that's
freaky,
amazing.
right?
Yeah, and do you feel you're sort of like feeding the cycle of it all? You're like, okay, well, I came and I was with that family, and now I'm living on the legacy. And
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but it sort of in terms of it just does sort of, I do think about it, and I want to give tribute to Frida and remember Frida, because she was an inspirational lady.
alhamdulillah.
Yeah, she was. She was a really powerful woman for her time. I think that would be fair to say. And I know her husband quite well
Yeah,
as well. He was a good guy, very
Yeah.
good guy.
yeah.
But talking about legacy, so what's your plan for your legacy for this year in office?
So, well, my overarching theme is connecting communities, and it would, given the city that we live in, our county, given the diversity of our county and our city, I think it would be appropriate for me to have that as an overarching theme. And what I'm a lawyer by background. I used to be a teacher. I've had involvement in sport, and health is also a really important. I'm a medical negligence lawyer, so I guess health element of things is also very, very important to me. So I've kind of collected up all of those things and as overarching. So I've got a number of charities, and they feed into that as well. So the charities I've chosen fit that, and of course law and order, because I'm a lawyer at the end of the day. So connecting communities is the overarching theme, and you may have seen I've launched an initiative, a fasting initiative, and I could talk about that if you'd like me to.
Absolutely, of course. How relevant in the month of Ramadan. You're going to do an initiative around fasting.
Yeah, and actually, shall I tell you where that came from? You know, where the sort of where that idea came from. So somebody said to me way sort of last year when I was thinking ahead about my year, and they said, you know, Mahmouda, why don't you do a high sheriff's iftar? And at the time I thought, yeah, that's not a bad idea. You know, Muslim high sheriff and all the rest of it. And then when I thought about it in the broader scheme of my my overarching theme, I thought by doing an iftar, I'm actually being quite exclusive, not inclusive. And what I wanted to do was look at, rather than just looking at Ramadan and looking at fasting from a Muslim perspective, I thought let's look at fasting, broadly, because fasting it's not just Muslims who fast. You know, there's it's Passover at the moment as well. We're in the middle of Passover. We've just had Lent. It's now Easter. We have so many communities have fasting within their faith,
and also the health benefits that a lot of people connect with.
The non-faith, and that was also really, really important. Exactly right. So the health, the well-being, you know, we have intermittent fasting, you have your, alternative day fasting, you have 5-calorie fasting. It's become, people are very conscious about that these days. So I thought, let's look at, I've done Choose Your Fast so that people can choose whichever way they fast. How many times do you get asked, can you have water or can you whatever? And it's like, no, we're nil by mouth. But that's not the only way to fast. And, sure, some people do a water fast, some people do a fruit fast. In the Hindu faith, my friends, they will say, right, well, we're only eating fruit today. We're not.
So would you say you're sort of uniting people through their passion to fast for whatever their reason being, and then you're representing, your community as a Muslim, but including everybody in this common cause.
Absolutely right. So that's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So connecting communities using fasting and looking at it. So I haven't done mine's not an iftar. Mine's a celebration of fasting. There is a big difference.
Do you think they'll all be impressed by our version of fasting because it's so intense?
Well, it'd be interesting to see how many chose to do our version of the fast in comparison to saying, I'm going to turn my mobile phone off for a day.
Yeah, it's like different levels. And
absolutely.
But do you know something? Have you ever tried a water fast or a fruit fast?
I haven't, no.
Do you know what? They are harder than ours.
Really?
Yeah.
I tell you why. Because with ours, you literally turn the switch, don't you, and say, nil by mouth, and nothing passes your lips, and you just get on with your daily business and don't even think about food. But when you're allowed fruit or water or whatever, your mind is not off food and drink. It's like, you can have, and you can eat 20 apples and you can still feel not satisfied. So
I think we're just so tired that we don't think about the food because
you just want to sleep crawling through
You're
the
just
day.
hanging, literally hanging. So that event is happening soon.
Yeah. So I've called. It's the 20th of April. So if anybody out there who is not a Muslim, but actually for our Muslim listeners as well, if I reach out to you and say, look, find 2 friends who are not Muslims, who are not fasting, and encourage them to give something up on the 20th of April. And actually everybody come together at 8:15 on that day, which is the time for iftar, and let's break the fast as an act of community. So you know how when NHS, we were clapping the NHS at 8 o'clock, you came out on the doorstep, that was an act of community. And I was inspired by that. And I thought, you know what, let's all break the fast together at 8:15. However you want to do it. Do it with your neighbor, your friends, your family, your colleagues, whatever. But find a group of people, one other person.
And it creates the opportunity to discuss why you're doing it. So people will ask, well, what's your reason and what's your background? So it starts to give a platform to then explain your personal reasons. And
I think the non-religious element to that as well is quite important.
Yes.
Because as you say, there's a huge community out there that are not religious. To the way that kind of other religions are like us, but still want to be part of, want to learn, want to know. Why shouldn't they be part of? And this is a way to do that. So it's quite clever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of non-Muslims are very intrigued as to how we can do it, why we do it, and sometimes they find it quite satisfying to join in with us in some capacity. So this is sort of an inviting way that's not so intimidating maybe to a non-Muslim.
And that's why I've said choose your fast so people can decide, you know, because by saying, oh, I'm nil by mouth, that's off-putting and
straight to level 5.
Level 5, exactly.
Oh, how many times you had a conversation and they go, what?
Yeah.
Nothing. You
So
mean
not
nothing?
even water?
Not even water. Can't you have a cigarette? You can't have nothing. Yeah, nothing means nothing. Wow, I don't know how you do it.
But also, let's not forget the spiritual benefit to it, the mindfulness, the whole, you know, there's another level, isn't there? It's not just about food.
Yeah, you think so much about like your language and your demeanor and all the extra activities that, you know, you're doing day to day. You pull it all back and focus on your family and your home. And
we've got a comment up there, Helen. You're on comment and question duty.
Okay,
Probably because your eyesight's a bit better than mine.
Unfortunately, it's not, and I've left my glasses in the car. But Asif Ali, and he says, I was the winner of Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant 2009. So this is really amazing, alhamdulillah. And he says, wow, a level of gratitude. And he's also mentioned, I think I know Asif Ali, really positive young man. And he's also said, how can we abolish disability discrimination within our community? I think that's a great question.
It's a big question. Yeah, absolutely. It's a big question.
That's one for you, Kirk.
I think education for people.
Yeah.
I always think discrimination comes from a lack of education and understanding of that person, and a disability doesn't, you know, mean that that person's not able to do many of the things that they otherwise, you know, maybe could have.
Well, or look at the things that people with a disability, there's an assumption that
Exactly,
people
I know
with a
what you're gonna
disability cannot do.
Yes.
And actually there is so much, and that, you know, that people with a disability do.
Yeah.
And which, you know, you look at the Paralympics and do you know what? I went to an event recently and there was a lady there who, she blew me away. She's does tennis in the Olympics.
Another comment?
So we've got Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations on your appointment, Mahmouda Duke.
Thank you.
And a few other things above where they've said...
oh, that's gone. That's an old one.
Taking it away.
Yeah, it's took it off, so that's non-relevant. Go on. Sorry, Mahmoud, you were talking about this tennis player.
No, she was a tennis player, and do you know what she said, which was incredible? She was perfectly healthy, perfectly, you know, able-bodied, and then had a devastating accident which left her paralyzed, you know, from, you know, her lower body, her upper body worked fine. So she then became a tennis player using her upper body and training her upper body strength. And she hasn't yet won the gold in the Olympics and is still trying. She's called Lucy Shuko, if I remember correctly, her name. And she was just amazing. And what she said was, she said, you can win or lose a game in your head. And I thought that was quite powerful. That, you know, it's like anything. Yeah. But, you know, people, you think that, how would you get to the Olympics? And she trained like you or I probably would never ever dream of training.
Sometimes when you are being tested in one way or the other, it actually pushes you to go above and beyond what you previously thought you were capable of. And I would find, I just personally see that everybody's different. And, you know, when somebody has a disability, there's no need to treat that person differently, talking to them, interacting with them. It's just maybe some of, you know, movement and these sorts of things that you may need to accommodate to help the person. But apart from that, we do need to learn about
difference.
It's about difference. It's about embracing difference, isn't it?
Well, one of the things this is years ago and it stuck with me, I've actually just wrote it down to make sure that I got it right. And I was doing this workshop and there was a disabled young man in there. He was about 17, 18 years old. And he paraphrased all of the conversation, etc. He said, don't judge me by what you think I can't do. Judge me by what I can do.
Correct.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me for, this must be 15 years now since that phrase. And I thought, you know what, we're quick to judge others, but we don't actually give them the credit for what they can do and who they are as individuals and people, mentally and physically. It's like, oh, they can't do that, or they can't. How do you know?
And
you wouldn't know.
Even the word disability, you know, that I struggle with that a little bit.
So do I.
You know?
So do I.
And you know what? in Dubai, they don't use the word disability.
They don't.
They use a different phrase, and it just escapes. My Ramadan brain's frozen at the moment. I can probably Google it for you in the break.
In some countries, they do use even worse, like it sometimes can be really derogatory as well.
No, but this is very positive in Dubai. I remember coming out of the airport, and I will find it for you in a second.
I know we've been before, and I remember seeing them use certain words that were a bit more empowering. Yeah. But I know previously in Dubai they didn't. They used to use, not so great words. But it's good to see that a city has moved on and embraced people with disabilities. So Asif Ali, I hope that helps sort of you a little bit. And I think if you're the person I think you are, then I think you're doing a good representation for people with disabilities and showing that you're able to push through boundaries and achieve amazing things.
And I think education, we all agree with, is very important, but there are other factors to that as well. So just back to the High Sheriff stuff, Marida, how will this impact on us as a wider Muslim community? What benefit can we get out of you being in that position of, it's quite high profile, it's very, as you say, in a civic space. You usually, I'll use the word or the phrase, wining and dining with the good and the great of the city and the county. How does that benefit, or how can we benefit from that as a community?
It's all of that, but also it's lending my support as High Sheriff in that role to the unsung heroes of our city and county, to the people who, to the services that keep us safe, to the health services, to the emergency services, the fire and rescue, the probation services. So it's for me, there's a huge education piece going on, and I'm going to be I've learned so much already, and will be learning. So my job is to share what I learn.
Do you feel like you're a bridge for the community to be able to find these things and take them back to places of power and influence?
So in terms of power and influence is another matter, because this is a ceremonial role, not a political role.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got that there are.
I'm like the lay person. So I'm like probably most of the viewers that have got all these questions. Yeah. So it's interesting to.
But that implied politicians have power, but you can put question marks around that as well. Believe me.
Yeah. But so it's important to recognise that's really important for the listener.
It's a non-political.
It's a non-political position.
Absolutely.
It's not for me to go and lobby and do all that kind of stuff. It isn't. That's not my role. But my role is there to provide. If I go right back to connecting communities, when I'm out and about, I will see things that perhaps other people have no access to. And if I can then make those connections, and I will see actually that might help that organisation that's trying really hard over here. And if I connect them with this organisation on this side, that might help them to progress and all that. So for me, it's a learning piece. And for me, every day is a school day. And I've already, in the couple of 2-3 weeks, I've learned so much and I've met so many interesting people.
On the school days bit, I know you're really passionate about supporting young women.
Yeah.
Those in school still, those that are striving to move forward. That's part of your project and theme going forward as well, and work you've done previously. I know Helen's done a lot of work around that as well. So that could be quite exciting for our communities.
Absolutely.
Because you chosen some particular schools to do that in as well?
Yeah, so my aim is to go and visit a number of schools, and to go and, so I've had schools that have contacted me to go and do awards and that kind of stuff, but I would like to, when I go to schools, is to actually talk a little bit about the role. But there's the whole thing about you've got to be seen we need role models, and if you can see that there's this Muslim woman, this Asian woman. People might not know I'm a Muslim, but the fact that I'm an Asian woman, it's irrelevant, whether I'm a Muslim or not a Muslim, but, and irrelevant that I'm, of colour. The fact is I'm a woman at the end of the day, that this woman is in this role, and actually, we can do that too.
I think all the parts of it are relevant for each sort of sector that it connects with, and that's why it's so great, because you kind of fulfill so many areas of influence, whether it be faith or even, coming from your legal background, other people that are in law might feel inspired by you, and having all these diverse parts of you is what is probably so beneficial to our community.
Yeah.
I think the role model bit is really important, to get that message out there into our communities, that there are positive role models in our communities, and there are lots, but it's about, I guess, being on that platform and being able to share your experience and how you've gone about what you've done, and giving other people opportunities to do that as well is really important, because I don't think it happens enough, because there's some great people in our communities that do some wonderful things, from projects to volunteering, etc. And I just don't think we celebrate that enough. I don't think we expose our younger generation to that enough. I really feel that's a gap in our community.
And do you know what, Kirk? On that note, if there is any organisation out there that I can support, I can help, my presence, if that helps to raise the profile of an organisation, then please do reach out and do contact me. Can I say that how to contact me, Kurt? There's a website now.
Yes, I'm going to do that when you just give us a brief overview of your projects. The 4 projects that you've you've got 5, haven't you?
Yeah.
But you've got 4 that are kind of stapled on, and then you've got a theme for your 5th one.
Yes, I have. So, there are 4 charities that I'm backing and supporting, and they're charities really close to my heart. So the charities I have and organisations that I've worked with previously, but I've wanted to carry on building that in my role. So they are, in no particular order, STEPS, which is a charity which works with babies, and it gives them neuroconductive education. So brain damaged babies from any background. Rosemary Conley is the president of that, and the patron of that, and she does a phenomenal amount of work raising money for that charity. And I've been along and seen the work that they do, and it just is mind-blowing. So, babies who have suffered injuries at birth and can't even sit up, can't feed themselves, can't do anything, they are struggling, and there's no funding for those babies. So there is lots of support through STEPS. Healing Little Hearts, you may have heard or known that I support that charity. That's set up by Sanjeev Nishani, OBE, and that's a charity where operations are given to babies in developing countries, and a phenomenal team of people go out there, and from all over the world. Actually, Sanjeev has mobilized people from all over the place to go off and do operations on babies with holes in the heart and that kind of thing, and give babies a chance of life. We get those operations here. Those children would not in those developing countries.
And a baby is so helpless. They're completely reliant on their surroundings to get them to the next stage of life. So.
And I went into hospital, into those operating theatres. I stood watching an open heart beating. I watched the operations being done with my own eyes. So it was quite mind-blowing. So
must have been emotional as well.
Very, very emotional. Yeah. And watching as the babies kind of come out the other side. And then there's Warning Zone. If you have not been to Warning Zone, you should take a visit down to Warning Zone. I didn't want to leave. It was incredible, the work that they do in educating children about the dangers of the physical world and the electronic world. And the team there are so inspiring. And I just sat and watched how they engaged 10-year-olds. And it was just, what they do is very practical, and it's there for the safety of it's educating youngsters and keeping them safe. And actually, if you can keep them safe, that links to crime and law and order. And actually, that is the High Sheriff's charity. So that is a charity. So that's a charity that comes with the role.
That's a set one.
Yeah. But I am really delighted that it is actually, and I can see exactly why. But I learned a lot when I went there. And the team there do phenomenal work.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And then there's Leicestershire County Cricket Club Foundation. I couldn't leave out my passion. My sporting passion. So Leicestershire County Cricket Club Foundation, and what that is money. Any money raised will go to grassroots cricket and the development of grassroots cricket. So,
and sports is so important for young people. It's a way for them to escape, a way for them to learn new skills. So anything that's grassroots is.
But it has a law and order connection too, because if you can keep children occupied, you can give them a focus, you give them, and there's a health and well-being element to it, there's a mental health and well-being element to it. So it encompasses so many areas. So I'm passionate about all of those things.
They all seem to relate to children, so I feel like, is that sort of like a passion of yours to,
yes,
you know, and going into schools and everything?
Well spotted.
I feel like there's some motivation behind
There
this.
is.
You want the young people and children to
next generation
aspire.
It's about the future. It's,
Next
you know,
generation.
and I started life as a teacher before I became a lawyer, so there must be a reason for that.
Yeah.
And you know,
and the fifth one, the theme kind of.
Yeah, the theme is about, you know, prevention, crime prevention, or it's crime prevention, but it's actually more about rehabilitation. So where people have been, so that's whether it be families, it be, you know, young people, if they have offended and they've been in prison, you know, what is done to rehabilitate and get people back in the community. So that's my focus. I haven't chosen a charity as such or an organisation as such. You know, but having announced that at my declaration, I've had people contact me and said, Mahmouda, you know, would you come to this AGM, would you come to our AGM, and we'd like you to see the work that we do. So it
sort of looks like you're tackling it from both ends of the tunnel. So one end of the tunnel is the prevention of young people and children going into sort of non-focused activities, and which could lead to crime. And then at the other end, where they've been through it all and now they are hopefully trying to rehabilitate themselves. So it will probably be interesting for you as well to see different angles and help in different ways.
And I deliberately chose a focus because it means that I keep my eyes and ears open as I go around and meet people, and it gives me something to look out for, as opposed to these are my charities and this is what I'm doing. So it actually gives me a piece of work to do as well.
Keeps it open book for you.
Yeah, it does.
So that information on it's a website, isn't it?
There is a website.
Just give the details for anybody that wants to kind of know what the High Sheriff role is, how to contact yourself, how to be involved in the projects from a donation perspective, or even contact details. It's all on the website.
It is on the website. So it's www.Leicestershire High Sheriff. Let me check. Can I check and make sure I give you the right address? I don't want to give the wrong.
Well, I'm sure if you typed in Leicestershire High Sheriff,
if you do, it will come up. And
Helen, I'm looking for you now to confirm that, because you know IT is not my thing at all.
Here it is, www.highsheriffleicestershire.com. And sheriff is 1 R, 2 Fs. It's really easy to spell it with a double R.
1 R. I've actually wrote it on here, and it's got 2 R's and 1 F.
Yeah. It's 1 R, 2 Fs.
There you go. He's put it up on the site for us. That's the one?
Thank you. That is...
Yes?
Yep. So no, that is the High Sheriff's Association. Okay? That's the High Sheriff's Association. And if you...
So it wasn't that one, Akil?
No, that's not that one. So that tells you about all the High Sheriffs in the country. And if Akil can put that one...
I'm sure he'll find it.
High Sheriff Leicestershire you need to put in. In fact, actually go to that website. It should have it, and you should be able to click on it. It goes back. That's got my details on as well.
Okay. So your term of office is for 1 year?
Yeah, 12 months. So that website he gave, Akil, that one will also give you the relevant
He'll give you the
to find me, yeah, absolutely. In my role as High Sheriff.
Okay.
It's a 12-month role, yeah.
12-month role.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
So me and Helen may get an invite to a nice black tie event that you may be hosting or not hosting. Every guest that's come on,
completely put you on the pressure.
we put things back into the radio station
Really?
about guest invites, VIP stuff, especially for me and Akil. Me and Akil like going out together for a bite to eat.
So if I give back to my Choose Your Fast, and I have said for everyone to do an act of community at the end of the day at 8:15 to break the fast, whatever you're doing. So I am hosting an event, and it is that's me bringing members of the community together. So I've got people that I've never met before, and I'm so looking forward to meeting them in our community. So people from different faiths, people from different organizations. So a whole host of people from the community who I have pulled together. And I really look forward to meeting them.
There's a great place called Christ the Church in Beaumont Leys, and we work with them in lockdown a lot. And I won't mention her name, she might not want me to mention her, I don't know, but there's a husband and wife that run it, And they are so immersed in all the different communities. And I think you'd find them a very interesting people. They help so many people. They would love, I think, to get involved with something like this.
Well, please connect me with them.
They
Is
are.
that the one near the Belmont Leys Leisure Centre?
Yeah.
Just in front?
Yeah, they do
I've met
much
them.
work for our communities.
Yeah,
And
I met them.
yeah.
Actually,
nice
I can't remember what it was for or what it was about. I think it was related to something they were doing in food distribution for a local group of kids that were just kind of hanging around, and then they started giving them breakfast clubs before they went to school. And I know exactly who you mean.
Yeah, really nice people and really open to, we had Humanity Without Borders charity, who are an Islamic charity, working hand in hand with them all through lockdown. It was the best thing to see,
Is that the one?
Yep, that's the one. Thank you.
You look fabulous in that picture.
Explain the outfit, Mahmouda. You've got to explain that outfit.
Oh dear.
Because there's some bits to the.
Yeah.
Is regalia the right word?
Yeah, regalia.
That you have to have.
Yes.
Okay.
The frills and the.
Before I explain my outfit, the gentleman on the right is David Monteith,
Yes.
the very Reverend David Monteith, and he's my chaplain.
Yeah, great guy, David is.
High sheriffs have to nominate a chaplain, and I nominated David. The gentleman on the left is Surinder Sharma, so he's the chap who nominated me.
Initially.
Surinder was a high sheriff about 5 or 6 years ago, so it's thanks to him that my name was put forward. But the outfit, so you'll see frilly sleeves, so that's part of the outfit. So there are certain things which, if you Google high sheriff, lady high sheriffs, you will see every high sheriff has frilly sleeves. You have a piece in your neck, which is, normally it's a big frilly piece. It's called a jabot. But I decided to have something very light.
Did you rebel?
Well, do you know what I did? It wasn't rebellion. What I was trying to do is make sure that I had an outfit which ticked every box that I needed to tick, but it represented me as a Muslim. Because I don't wear short dresses, and I didn't want to...
You don't want to compromise.
I didn't want to compromise that. And also with the hat, so the feather... that's an ostrich feather.
Okay.
And so you can either have a big fluffy ostrich feather, or my hat maker suggested that one. So and you can see I've got a scarf as well. So I just wanted to reflect the fact that that I'm a Muslim. And the buttons, you'll see the steel buttons. So steel cut buttons are also part of the uniform. So I used all...
it's got a slight element of, the Emirates air hostess.
That was my inspiration. It was my inspiration.
I feel like it looks like they always look really glamorous, and they've got this.
So that was the Middle Eastern touch. That was my inspiration.
Okay.
And I'll let you into a little secret. I did actually start off with a white scarf. And then I thought, no, I look like an air hostess.
It looked too
much.
similar.
Too similar. So I went with
you
the
don't
black.
want people in that place going, excuse me, can I have a drink, please?
Well, I have to say, my brothers, they were very irreverent, and they did tease me. But hey,
well, they're family. They can get away with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't you though, Kirk? I won't forgive you.
No, I wouldn't dare in those places. I don't usually get an invite to those places, so I just have to sit and watch it on social media or whatever else.
Yeah. No, but that Middle Eastern look was my inspiration.
Yeah, it looks fabulous.
And the chain, people can't see your chain,
sorry.
but that's
There's the chain.
that's the kind of the thing that you have to wear when you go into anywhere representing the High Sheriff.
Yes.
It's customary that you wear the chain so people can identify who you are.
That's right.
Okay.
So the outfit that you saw in the picture, so that's court dress, and you wear that for certain formal occasions. So and it's every day's a school day. You learn when to wear the court dress, when not to wear it. So, and if you're not wearing the court dress, then you wear the badge of office. So that's how you're
You've been tempted
identified.
to use the badge as a sort of like gate of entry to put it inside your jacket and then just open it. Do you know who I am? And show the badge.
that wouldn't be appropriate.
It's not appropriate.
No,
is it?
it would not be appropriate.
There's standards to the
I'd
role,
be
Helen.
way too
This is
rebellious
why
for
we're
this.
not invited, you see. There's standards to all of these things, and we're too rebellious for
There
that.
are protocols.
No, but it looks great, like the badge.
Yeah,
what do you refer to it as?
This is the badge of office.
Badge of office.
Yeah.
Badge of office.
Yeah.
And it's got the fox on there as well.
Yep, it has. There you go.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my Leicestershire fox.
Okay.
My foxes.
And of course, the Foxes, the Blue Army,
Yeah.
who went through to European semi-finals last night.
Yeah.
I can't resist putting that
Put
little
that in.
piece in.
Oh, I don't follow football. I can't join in. I know.
Big moment for the city, that was. Huge. First time in the history of the club.
Oh, God, you look disappointed in me. Oh, no, I think that it's, as a fellow female, Muslim, ethnic background, to see someone like yourself so eloquently represent such a high role, an important role, and do it with the passion for community and the children, it is amazing and it's inspiring, and hopefully it's opened a lot of listeners' eyes and ears as to, what's achievable for them in the future, maybe.
Yeah, and the advice I would give is that, and I think we chatted about this earlier, if an opportunity comes your way, the temptation is to think, I can't do it. And that I had exactly that response as well, that I can't do it, it's too difficult, or I'm not the right person, or I won't be good enough. But actually, don't be afraid. Say yes and learn on the job, because there's always people who will help you.
Absolutely, because opportunities don't always come along. You can be working hard for opportunities all your life, and then one comes and you say no and wait for the next one, and it never comes. So to take it is absolutely crucial to moving forward and experiencing new things.
Yeah, and the timing may not always be right, when the opportunity comes your way, but
yes.
Sometimes you've got to stand back and think, actually, how can I make this work?
And sometimes you have to trust in Allah's process. He's brought something to you, He's chosen you, and you have to welcome that in within what's reasonable.
And represent to the best of your ability.
Absolutely. And that's all you can do, is do your best. And, I'm sure I'll make mistakes along the way. I'm sure I'll get things wrong. And I'm sure I'll, but I will learn. And if people point out where I went wrong, then I will always be open to learning.
My grandma always used to say, God loves a trier.
Oh.
So, if you try your best. And that's all you can tell young people. That's all I tell young people now, because some detailed conversation doesn't work. They don't absorb it. It's not the right time. It's not the right space. But if you keep it simple and just try and encourage people to do better and be better, it's a simple way forward for all of us.
You cannot be successful in anything without failing. It is
of
part
course,
of the
you
process.
have to.
And so once you overcome that fear of failure, unfortunately, I do think in, society and schools, there's this whole thing like failing is such a bad thing, or leaving a job or quitting something is so bad, and it's not really. It's
all part of the journey, and
it's learning on the job.
It's learning on the job, and I struggle with the word failure a little bit, because I always think that it's just a hiccup along the way, and you've got to overcome it.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Go on.
In regards to something you said earlier on about you have to nominate going forward. So obviously I'm not going to ask you names. Will you keep with the kind of spirit of where your legacy wants to be with a female nomination? You just say yes, no.
Well, I'm not going to answer yes, no.
There's 5. You said you can have 5, 6 names, so you won't.
So for me,
Kirk, were they Muslim, female?
So what's always been very important to me when I was president, of Leicestershire Law Society, it was really important to me that I encouraged other women, I was the first Asian female. I didn't want to be the last.
Okay.
And that's really important to me. So all I will say is I don't want to be the last person of colour
in this role,
female in this role.
And I think that's a very important point for you, or a very important role for you to play whilst you're the High Sheriff now, to make sure that is known. So I don't have a chance, Helen, but maybe you might have a chance.
Well, if you shave your beard, you might be able to
I said it was very important to me.
And they're non-political anyway, so I'm in a different space now. So.
But do you find it's a bit of a catch-22 sometimes? You want the best person for the role, but you also want to make sure that it's representative of something you're passionate about as well. So
absolutely. So there's a lot of things to think about, and I'll just make sure I think very carefully.
Amazing.
You can tell she's a lawyer, can't you?
Yeah.
Gives nothing away whatsoever.
It's good.
We've got 45 seconds left. Any final words from yourself? Thank you for joining us this evening. It was a pleasure. I hope the community understood the significance of your role and how important it is. And I hope you can get out into the community, particularly our community, to show what the High Sheriff is and try and put that role model perspective out there?
So I would say reach out to me. I will come, I will support, and I will do as much as I can to help our community, the wider community, Leicester, Leicestershire, to do my best.
Could we have a High Sheriff tea party for our community?
We can.
There's another one on the
Let's
spot.
organise one. I would like a volunteer to
Akil,
come out there.
put that on the list.
Put
High
that on the
Sheriff
list.
tea
Let's
party.
have one. Let's have
Yeah,
We're
I'll
off.
come to it. No problem.
Say
I'll come to
goodbye.
it.
We're off to go.
Party